Yo, so we back. It's another day in the time. Currently, right now, just if nobody knew, I'm pretty sure everybody knew though. You know, I live in the Houston area. But anyway, back to where I'm from. And, you know, growing up in Detroit was crazy. It was rough. It was tough. There was a lot going on. There was a lot to handle. I had to raise myself early. What you say? Jumped off the porch pretty early. So, yeah, I grew up, you know, in the Schoolcraft area, and I grew up in the crack area. So that was just a challenge in itself. And then my mom, you know, she was a user as well. Excuse me. So I was the only child for 11 years. So I didn't really do a lot. You know, I got up every morning, I went to school, came home, played with my couple of friends that I had, and that was pretty much it. Once I got to a certain age, 9, 10 years old, you know, that's when I started having a taste of an adult life. And what I mean is, you know, I started selling drugs that early. I started smoking weed, cigarettes, drinking, hanging out, partying, you know, trying to be a part of the street life, you know, and making a lot of bad decisions. And I didn't have a lot of guidance. And, you know, it kind of it shapes you as you go along in your career. It shapes you as you go along in your life. And some of the things that were really, really hard to deal with is that, you know, my family was very dysfunctional. You know, my dad wasn't in my life like that. My mom being a user and her doing the things that she did, making the decisions that she made, you know, it made it kind of hard on me. I didn't know what was right. I didn't know what was wrong. You know what I mean? I just knew I was a child. You know, I was a kid. And so I made the adult decisions, not even knowing those adult decisions. And so early on, my dad's side of the family, who cared for me a lot, was there for me a lot. You know, they kept me laced in the newest fashions and the newest things, which kind of put a target on my back. And I didn't know. You know, I remember the very first I was a San Francisco 49ers fan, and Jerry Rice was my favorite player, and I wanted to play football because of him. And, you know, that was my dream as a kid, which all went away very fast. But anyway, I say to say that that's part of one of the stories of my life. So back in the day when I grew up, you know, you had a what you call starter coats or starter jackets. And I mean, we talking, you know, late 80s, maybe 87, 88, something like that. I can't actually remember. But I had one. I had the San Francisco 49ers starter jacket. And I was the only kid in the neighborhood that had one. It might have been one other kid at my school that had one, but he wasn't from my neighborhood. He had an Oakland A's jacket. He stayed across the bridge. And I'm talking about, you know, I was fly. You know what I'm saying? I had always been fly. I had always been, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote pretty boy, swag, whatever the case may be. So the point of the story is, this was the first time I ever got robbed. I got robbed by some of my classmates who stayed 2 streets over from me. I stayed on Rose Line, they stayed on North Line. So it was Rose Line. So it was Green Line, Rose Line, Clover Line, North Line, Cherry Line, Wisconsin, Indiana, Kentucky. Like, those were all the streets. I stayed on Rose Line, on the dead end. Some of my friends stayed on North Line, and I went over to my homeboy house. I'll never forget it. It was 2 dudes, one named Darnell, one named Dewan, and I went over to my friend's house named Willie, and I didn't know Darnell was there. He was hiding behind the door. So Willie basically lined me up. This was the first lineup ever in life. And so anyway, I went over there, chilled, played some video games, you know, and next thing I know, you know what I'm saying, when I'm leaving out of the house after it was all said and done, Darnell hiding behind the door. And sure enough, put a 357 to my head. Hey bro, give me that jacket. This is the crazy part about it. He took my jacket and didn't even want it. He gave it to somebody else. Like they just did it for fun. You know what I mean? Like that's what was crazy. So like when I say I've been through things in life that people wouldn't understand, or it shaped me to be who I am, and it gave me the character and make me aware and make me be a critical thinker, like what I'm about. Like, this situation did that, because when I think back, like, I kind of felt like I knew I was being set up, but I didn't know, because I ain't like the trust was there. I thought these guys were my friends. Anyway, the dude took my jacket, gave it to somebody else, and then I had to go fight the dude he gave it to. Then when I fought the dude he gave it to get it back, I had to fight them. I had to fight Dewan, who was there, because he thought that I was gonna be a, pardon my language, a pussy, because my daughter is 14, she's the camera girl right now. This is how authentic I am. Like, he thought I was gonna be soft and not wanna, you know, get my stuff back. So I had to go, I had to fight 2 different people just to get my jacket back. And it was over a jacket that nobody even wanted. They just wanted to do it because they thought they could bully me into taking my stuff. I'm 9 years old, maybe 10. This is the streets of Detroit. Like, this is what it's like. This is how it is. That's just the we're not even got to the meat and potatoes of life. You know what I mean? That's just the first part, you know? So it was rough, you know, growing up. And then so we fast forward a little bit. Like, I went to Cordis Elementary, and I'm name dropping these places and streets because at some point, I think next year I'm gonna be back in Detroit, and I'm gonna go back to these blocks and these schools and show y'all. And when I finally end up posting this mini doc, I'm gonna clip it in. So when I'm talking about it now, it's gonna come across the screen. Green line in Interville, boom, this spot. Cordis, bam, this spot. But anyway, y'all get it. So I'ma show y'all. Anyway, so fast forward a little bit. That was when I was 9, 10 years old. So I was going to Cordis Elementary. I graduated from that school, Cordis. Went up to the 7th grade. Graduated from there. Plenty of stories, epic stories that goes on in that neighborhood. But if anybody knew about that neighborhood, it's a legendary neighborhood. And so I was supposed, now we get into middle school ages, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, this is where, you know, you start to like understand the beginning in life. So I went to this school called Bobian, which was all the way down on basically 8 Mile in Pembroke. And anybody know how far Detroit Streets is? That's like not even in the ram of where the school I should have went to. I was supposed to go to Noble, which was across the bridge. Then I was supposed to go to McKenzie, which was on Wyoming and Chicago, or somewhere down there like that, right? That's where all the kids from my neighborhood went to. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be like other people. I didn't want to follow the crowd. I've never been that kind of person. I've always been the kind of person to go against the grain. Everybody wore Jordans as I was coming up as a kid. I didn't like that. I ain't get my first pair of Jordans until I was damn near grown. But, you know, I say that is because I went a whole different direction and the normal people went. And it's crazy because McKenzie ended up getting shut down. Noble ended up getting shut down because they were too dangerous of schools. It was always fights. It was always, you know, bad things happening because of the city of Detroit. Like I say, this is the crack era. So, you know, this is the beginning where, like, lots of gangs was starting and stuff like that. Anyway, I went to Bobian. Bobian was on damn near. It's right between 7 Mile, 8 Mile, right off Wyoming. So it was one bus. And there was a couple people from my neighborhood that went to that school, mainly some females. I ain't gonna drop their names, but, you know, I was cool with both of them. And they know who they are. And so I went to Bobian. And that's where the neighborhoods I started rocking in and being a part of shaped a lot of the things that I did. And so that's how I ended up even getting introduced to 7 Mile outside of knowing where Northland was at. And so I ended up being on 7 Mile a lot, really all across 7 Mile and south, all the way from 7 Mile to Wyoming to 7 Mile Southfield, basically anywhere in between there. You know what I'm saying? I was known, people knew me, and I knew people that was there. And I was part of some elite people, you know what I mean? Elite groups, should I say. So I went to Bobian. Bobian was a middle school, and it went from 7th to 9th grade, right? And from 7th to 9th grade, remember y'all, this is all the beginning, you know, the mini doc. From 7th to 9th grade, this is where I started selling more drugs, getting into more trouble, really started smoking weed heavy, started hanging with some people. But at the same time, I was a little awkward, skinny, weird kid. And I had lame friends, you know what I mean? Because nobody really knew me from this area, and the people from that area, you know, they all had knew each other. They went from their middle schools they went from their elementary schools to that middle school. So in the 7th grade, I still was kind of like outcast or the black sheep. It wasn't